Hello friends, today we are embarking on an exciting journey across the ocean of time to learn how one man changed the course of history. We're talking about Christopher Columbus, a navigator who dreamed of finding a new route to Asia, but ended up discovering an entirely new world. But how did it all begin? What challenges did he overcome? And why did his discovery become one of the most important events in human history? All this and more in today's video. Let's dive into the era of the great geographical discoveries. Christopher Columbus was born in 1451 in Genoa, Italy. His family was not wealthy. His father, Domenico Colombo, worked as a weaver, and his mother, Susanna Fontanarossa, took care of the household. From a young age, Columbus dreamed of the sea. Genoa was a major port city, and the boy often watched ships, dreaming of distant voyages. By the age of 14, he began working on merchant ships, sailing across the Mediterranean Sea. These early voyages became his school of life. He studied navigation, cartography, and the basics of seamanship. By the age of 20, Columbus had become an experienced sailor, but his ambitions reached much further. Columbus was self-taught. He read extensively, studied the works of ancient geographers like Ptolemy, and examined contemporary maps. At the time, many scholars already believed that the Earth was round, but there was no precise data on its size. Columbus became fascinated with the idea that by sailing west, one could reach Asia faster than by circumnavigating Africa. However, his calculations were flawed. He underestimated the size of the Earth and overestimated the extent of Asia. According to him, the distance from Europe to Japan was only about 4,000 kilometers. In reality, it's over 19,000. This mistake became pivotal in his fate. Columbus was obsessed with his dream. He believed that his expedition would not only bring wealth, but also change the world. However, finding support was not easy. Many considered his ideas insane and his calculations erroneous. He approached the kings of Portugal, England, and even the authorities of Genoa, but everywhere he was met with rejection. Only in 1492, after lengthy negotiations, did the Spanish monarchs Ferdinand and Isabella agree to finance his expedition. After forming his idea, Columbus began seeking support from European monarchs. The first he approached was King John II of Portugal. At the time, Portugal was a leader in maritime exploration, and Columbus hoped his idea would interest the king. However, Portuguese experts rejected his plan. They believed Columbus had severely underestimated the distance to Asia and that such a journey would be too risky. Moreover, Portugal was already investing resources in finding a route to Asia around Africa, making Columbus's idea seem unnecessary. After his failure in Portugal, Columbus moved to Spain. In 1485, he settled in Andalusia, where he began actively promoting his idea. He approached the Spanish monarchs, Ferdinand of Aragon and Isabella of Castile. But here too he faced difficulties. Spain was preoccupied with the Reconquista, the war to reclaim its lands from the Moors. The monarchs were in no hurry to invest in risky projects. Columbus did not give up. He gained the support of influential figures, such as the Franciscan monk Antonio de Marchena and the Queen's treasurer, Luis de Santangel. They convinced the monarchs that the expedition could bring Spain immense wealth and glory. Negotiations with Ferdinand and Isabella lasted several years. Columbus presented his terms. He wanted the title of admiral, to become viceroy of all discovered lands, and to receive 10% of all wealth found. The monarchs hesitated. They considered his demands too high and the project too risky. However, in 1492, after the completion of the Reconquista, Isabella finally agreed to support Columbus. Columbus's expedition was partially funded by the royal treasury and partially by private investors like Luis de Santangel. Columbus was given 3 ships. Santa Maria, the largest ship, the flagship of the expedition. Pinta, a fast ship that later played a key role in the discovery of land. Niña, a small but reliable ship. The crew consisted of 90 people, including sailors, soldiers, and even a few criminals who were promised freedom in exchange for their participation. Even after securing support, Columbus faced new challenges. Many sailors feared venturing into the unknown, as they believed the earth was flat and they might fall off its edge. Columbus had to convince them the journey was safe. Additionally, preparing the ships took longer than planned. But finally, on August 3, 1492, the expedition set sail from the port of Palos de la Frontera. The Spanish monarchs supported Columbus for several reasons. Economic gain. They hoped the expedition would bring gold, spices, and new lands. Religious motives. Isabella wanted to spread Christianity to new lands. Competition with Portugal. Spain did not want to fall behind Portugal, which was actively exploring Africa. On August 3, 1492, 3 ships, the Santa Maria, the Pinta, and the Niña, set sail from the port of Palos de la Frontera in Spain. On board were 90 people, including sailors, soldiers, and even a few criminals promised freedom in exchange for their participation. The first days of the voyage were calm. The ships headed south to the Canary Islands, where Columbus planned to stop to replenish supplies of water and food. However, problems began early on. The Pinta's rudder broke, and the ship had to be repaired. On September 6, 1492, after repairs, the expedition set out into the open ocean. Columbus chose a westward course, hoping to reach Asia. But soon, the crew began to lose confidence. Many sailors had never sailed so far from shore. They feared the ships might fall off the edge of the earth, as many still believed it was flat. Food and water supplies began to dwindle, and land was nowhere in sight. By the end of September, the crew began to grumble. The sailors demanded to turn back, threatening mutiny. Columbus, however, remained steadfast. He convinced the crew that land was near and even falsified the ship's log to show shorter distances traveled, so as not to alarm the sailors. On October 12, 1492, after 2 months at sea, sailor Rodrigo de Triana on the Pinta spotted land. It was one of the Bahamas, which Columbus named San Salvador, meaning Holy Savior in Spanish. Columbus and his crew landed on shore, where they were greeted by the local Taino people. They were friendly and eagerly traded gold ornaments for trinkets brought by the Europeans. Columbus was convinced he had reached Asia and called the natives Indians. He even took several of them with him to show the Spanish monarchs. After San Salvador, the expedition continued to explore the islands of the Caribbean. Columbus landed on Cuba, which he mistook for the mainland of Asia. He sent several men inland to find gold, but they returned empty-handed. On Haiti, which Columbus named Hispaniola, the expedition found more gold and established the first settlement, La Navidad. However, this settlement was later destroyed by the locals. On December 25, 1492, tragedy struck. The Santa Maria ran aground off the coast of Haiti and was severely damaged. Columbus had to leave part of the crew on the island to build a fort from the ship's wreckage. On January 16, 1493, Columbus set sail back to Spain on the Niña and the Pinta. The return journey was no less challenging. The ships encountered a severe storm, and the Pinta was temporarily lost. On March 15, 1493, Columbus returned to Spain, where he was hailed as a hero. He brought back gold, exotic plants, animals, and several Indians, which made a huge impression on the Spanish monarchs. Columbus's second voyage was much larger than the first. This time he set sail with 17 ships and over 1,200 people, including soldiers, colonists, priests, and even animals for future settlements. Columbus planned to establish permanent colonies, find gold, and convert the locals to Christianity. The expedition explored the Lesser Antilles, Puerto Rico, and Jamaica. Columbus also returned to Haiti, where he discovered that the settlement of La Navidad had been destroyed by the locals. On Haiti, Columbus founded the city of Isabella, which became the first Spanish colony in the New World. However, life in the colony was harsh. Colonists suffered from disease, hunger, and conflicts with the locals. Columbus faced discontent from the colonists, who accused him of poor leadership. Additionally, his relations with the locals deteriorated due to harsh treatment and demands for gold. In 1496, Columbus returned to Spain to report to the monarchs. Despite the difficulties, he managed to convince them of the need for further exploration. The third voyage began in 1498. This time, Columbus headed south, hoping to find new lands and gold. The expedition reached the coast of modern-day Venezuela. Columbus was amazed by the vast amount of fresh water at the mouth of the Orinoco River, and speculated that this might be a continent. However, he still believed he was in Asia. Upon returning to Haiti, Columbus found the colony in decline. The colonists were dissatisfied with his leadership, and the locals were rebelling against the Spanish. In 1500, Spanish authorities sent Commissioner Francisco de Bobadilla to Haiti, who arrested Columbus and his brothers for poor governance. They were sent back to Spain in chains. Despite the humiliation, Columbus managed to justify himself to the monarchs and was released. However, his reputation was tarnished. The fourth voyage was Columbus's last. This time, he set sail with 4 ships and a small crew. Columbus hoped to find a strait that would allow him to reach Asia, as well as to find gold and other riches. The expedition explored the coasts of modern-day Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and Panama. Columbus was convinced he was close to Asia but never found the strait. In 1503, 2 of Columbus's ships were damaged, and the crew was stranded on Jamaica. They spent over a year there waiting for rescue. In 1504, Columbus returned to Spain, where he faced further disappointments. The monarchs no longer trusted him, and his health was failing. One of the most significant consequences of Columbus's discoveries was the so-called Columbian Exchange, a massive exchange of plants, animals, technologies, and cultures between the Old and New Worlds. Potatoes, corn, tomatoes, cocoa, tobacco, and chili peppers became integral to European cuisine and agriculture. Potatoes, for example, helped alleviate famine in Europe. Turkeys and some bird species were brought to Europe. Spain received vast amounts of precious metals, which strengthened its economy but also caused inflation. Horses, cows, pigs, and sheep transformed the lives of indigenous peoples. Horses, for instance, became central to the culture of the Plains Indians. Wheat, grapes, coffee, and sugarcane began to be cultivated in America. Metal tools, firearms, and the wheel were introduced to the New World. Columbus's discoveries marked the beginning of Spanish colonization in America. Over the following decades, the Spanish conquered vast territories, including Mexico, Peru, and much of South America. Figures like Hernán Cortés and Francisco Pizarro conquered the Aztec and Inca empires, using superior weaponry and tactics, a system where Spanish colonists were granted the right to use indigenous labor. This led to exploitation and the deaths of millions of Native Americans. Spanish priests actively converted the indigenous population to Christianity, destroying local cultures and traditions. Columbus's discoveries had catastrophic consequences for the indigenous peoples of America. Europeans brought diseases such as smallpox, measles, and influenza, to which Native Americans had no immunity. This led to mass deaths. Estimates suggest that up to 90% of the indigenous population died within the first 150 years after Columbus's arrival. Indigenous people were forced to work on plantations and in mines, leading to their physical and cultural destruction. Native peoples were dispossessed of their lands, which were taken over by European colonists. The discovery of America had a profound impact on the global economy. Spain became the wealthiest country in Europe due to the influx of precious metals from America. However, this also caused inflation and economic crises. The discovery of new sea routes stimulated global trade. Europe, Asia, Africa, and America became part of a unified trading system. To work on plantations in America, slaves were brought en masse from Africa. This led to the development of the transatlantic slave trade, which lasted for centuries. Columbus's discoveries changed people's understanding of the world. It became clear that the Earth was much larger than previously thought. This spurred further geographical exploration. The interaction between Europe and America led to a blending of cultures, reflected in art, architecture, and traditions. The study of new lands and peoples contributed to the development of sciences such as botany, zoology, and anthropology. Columbus became a symbol of the age of exploration. His courage, determination, and belief in his ideas inspired countless explorers. Columbus proved that new lands could be reached by sailing west. This opened the way for navigators like Vasco da Gama, Ferdinand Magellan, and Amerigo Vespucci. Thanks to Columbus, Europe learned of the existence of a new continent, later named America, in honor of Amerigo Vespucci. Columbus left a deep mark on the culture of many countries. In the United States and some Latin American countries, Columbus Day, October 12th, is celebrated as a national holiday. However, in recent years, the holiday has faced increasing criticism due to the tragic consequences of colonization. Columbus has been the subject of numerous books, films, and paintings. His image is often used as a symbol of courage and the pursuit of the unknown. Columbus's name is immortalized in the names of cities, rivers, streets, and even the country of Colombia. Columbus's discoveries had a profound impact on science. His voyages proved that the Earth was round and spurred further exploration. The Columbian Exchange gave scientists access to new species of plants and animals, advancing these fields. Columbus's expeditions improved navigation and cartography, making sea travel safer. So friends, Christopher Columbus, dreaming of finding a new route to Asia, discovered an entirely new world. His voyages changed the course of history, but also remind us of the complex consequences of great discoveries. If you enjoyed this journey through time, give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. I'm already preparing new exciting stories for you. See you soon.